Want to look for it?
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to Paws On Animation.
This time we're covering the third Demon Slayer season, the Swordsmith Village arc.
Yes, so thank you for visiting our channel again today. Now, after reawakening and recovering from the Entertainment District arc, Tanjiro is sent to the secret Swordsmith Village to get a new and more durable sword suited for him. However, danger lurks as two demons find out about the village, and Tanjiro must team up with Hashira Muchiro and Mitsuri. Well, Hashiras.
Hashira. Why no was plural?
Muchiro and Mitsuri to defeat them.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know if it was an S at the end of Hashira and it's plural, so it's kind of weird.
True.
So, before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click notification updates on future podcasts and we'll pause videos.
And it's not Tanjiro, it's Compultural.
Or Gampacho Kamapoko.
We were so excited about seeing the season, just like the rest of the fandom. We've been waiting such a long time. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, the third season covers the Swordsmith Village arc. It adapts volumes 12 to 15, or chapters 98 through 127. And it aired from April 9th to June 18th. It was directed by Haru Sorozaki, and the character designs this season were by Akira Matsushima, who also served as the chief animator this season.
Right.
And it started off slower than usual. And online there were people who were disappointed that it started off slower. But if you've read the manga and you are realizing that it's matching up, then it would be no surprise. So for the anime only people, that was a surprise.
Right.
And there were 13 episodes this season.
Oh no, only 8.
Well, the last episode was a combination of 3.
Right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
So they started off calmer, probably because, as you mentioned, they were coming. All of them had to come out of a coma in order to even participate in the season.
Right. And the last arc, actually 2 arcs with the Mutant Train Entertainment District, they were so hardcore and action-filled and everything. One required maybe a few weeks rest, and after Entertainment District, it needed 2 months. And it was, if you watched that season, that podcast, you saw how chaotic and explosive that was, so much of the place burned down to the ground. So, of course, this one they would have to start off slow and build up to it. But I think the people want to see it get right to the action the very first episode within 10 minutes, because that's what they've been getting the last 2 seasons. They want that action right out the gate, or it's boring, because when it was out, it was considered to be a weak season. After just 1 episode it was considered a weak opening, a weak season, because it didn't start off with them killing the demons.
Well, for us it was interesting, since we had read this part of the manga. It was great to see it animated.
Right.
And they actually left some things out, because we were expecting to see Tengen and his wives and visit with him after. They totally left that out, which I was very surprised. And a couple other things that they chose to leave out of the anime that were actually in the manga.
Right.
I personally was very pleased with the season. Yes, it did start kind of slow. It took to the 3rd episode to really get into the demon slaying portion that people were looking for.
Right.
And another thing that I was excited about was learning more about Muichiro and Mitsuri, who are some favorites in the fandom.
Right.
Got some really big fans of theirs.
Yes.
And Muichiro, we didn't know much about him. And we learned so much, and why his backstory is really almost as sad as Tanjiro's.
Yes. And it was interesting is that he had
just
these,
as sad as Tanjiro.
right. It was interesting he had these 2 Hashira there instead of 1, so there would be a whole difference in the outcome, which we'll get to later on. And you had Muchiro acting one way, where it's like really cold, really distant, like there's nothing. And then you had Mitsuri, who was really warm and cheerful, and she was big sis. Like Rengoku was big bro, she was big sis because she really loved Nezuko.
Yes.
So with Muchiro, the first thing you kind of comes off of is if you haven't read that part of the manga, is that he's really arrogant and doesn't care about anything. And then as it goes on, you see the backstory. You see there are certain things that triggering memory gaps that he's actually been having. It explains why his personality is like this
and how he lost his memories altogether.
Right.
And learning that he has a twin brother who actually acted more like the personality he was exhibiting, like he was compensating for the brother he lost.
Right. And what really interesting is that it looked like a lot of the things for the triggers were from Tanjiro. And you end up finding out why specifically Tanjiro caused these memories to resurface. Because there was a point in there when the village was being attacked, and all he was focused on was just get to the main demon. And there were little ones attacking the swordsmiths. And he passed by one and said, well, that one's not important, someone else will get him. And he was just going to keep going. And you remember Tanjiro said it's always good to help anybody you see in need. And then he immediately went back and helped.
And you see so much of his backstory. Again, is really sad. And you see that, like Tanjiro, there was a family and the demons destroyed it. Like they've been doing all over the country, just, destroying families and killing people senselessly. And you learn more of what's happening with Muzan behind the scenes and why this is happening.
Right.
I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're talking about Mitsuri.
Not yet.
But what I love about how these characters are written is at first you're like, I don't know if you want to like this Hashira, then you end up loving them. And so far, every Hashira that I've ended up learning about, I adore.
Right.
Everyone, okay, Rengoku is my favorite. But
right.
Oh, Tengen. Oh, look how he's behaving. We're not going to like him. Oh, I love Tengen. Oh, look at Muchiro. Oh, he looks everything. Oh, I love Muchiro. Of course, you love Mitsuri.
Already, yeah.
But, and also, one of the two brothers, you learn about him as well.
Yeah.
And his power, his sort of demon power.
Right, he can absorb the powers for a little bit, but he doesn't turn full on demon.
Kitaro.
Right, he doesn't turn full on demon, but he has the powers for a little bit, so he doesn't fully turn.
And he has a rifle like he's from America.
That was hilarious. I'm like, where'd you get that from? They don't make that.
And when you've seen him in other episodes, or you've read before you find out, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna like him. Oh. And you're like, oh, I love him too.
Right.
So it's like every Hashira you end up loving.
Right.
And you see their backstories and you understand more of how they've come to be in the place they are now. Not only as demon slayers, but mentally and psychologically. And again, the stories are horrifying and very sad.
Right.
His as well, he and his brother have just an equally sad and horrific backstory.
Right.
And again, you end up loving him too.
Right.
And then you have Mitsuri,
right,
who you love from the beginning. And
right.
She's just cheerful and bubbly and sweet.
Right. That's why she got along with Goku so well.
And to me, it kind of reminded me, she was like the original Wally West, where you had all these other characters that had these really terrible backstories and broken homes. But Mitsuri's isn't like that. Hers was more of a personal struggle.
Right.
Dealing with people saying things about her because how she was born.
Right. And it was actually a relief to see her family was not taken out by demons. She had both parents and I think a brother. They all were still together. They weren't taken out. They loved Mitsuri. That even if she didn't marry off to somebody, because that's pretty much what they were preparing her for, and she kept getting turned down, is that even if it didn't happen, she was still welcome to stay with them however long she wanted. And it was actually refreshing to see that family wasn't torn apart, parents weren't divorced, or one's a deadbeat, and they weren't cruel to her. It was actually really nice to see one of them finally had a good household. It was just, as you said, how the other people treated her because of how she looked.
And forgive me, I said Gotaro, forgive me, that was the brother and the brother-sister demon pair. Please forgive me, it was Genya, Genya. I thought about it, very, very sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, you end up loving him. Not them, not Daki and Gentaro. No.
No, wrong one.
Again, yeah, Genya. I want to clarify that. But
Right,
yes,
'cause they
you're
sound
right. It
similar.
was nice to see that so far, amidst the backstories we've seen so far, there's one with a nice backstory in terms of family life and household.
Right. So it was actually just great to see that, and just seeing that was actually something nice to see, because you had 3 rough backstories in a row in one season, and finally you got one that wasn't bad, and they said she still has the family and stuff even after she left, and it seemed like the conflict was that she was more what's the word, shapely.
And she was born with muscular strength,
right,
that is abnormal,
right,
and she could do anything, and she was born that way,
right, and she's not arrogant about it or showing off. This is just how she naturally is.
Yes.
And can she, just as much as a guy, even when she's a kid, she's a
That's
whole
why
ton
she
of
and
food.
Goku got along so great.
Right? It's like how much, like what they had earlier when she invited Tanjiro to eat with her. And he said, well, I don't want to eat too much because we may have to fight soon. So I just had a lighter meal, and there was still like 20 bowls. Like, that was light?
She was like her trainer.
Yep.
She was like her sensei.
Right.
Eat.
Then now when it gets to the actual fighting, as you said, the 3rd episode, then the crap started hitting the fan. You had 2 demons that seemed almost impossible to defeat because it took a lot of thinking. You had one where no matter how many times they chopped off the head, the limb, someone else would grow in its place and they would multiply. Then you had another one that was taking people and turning them into body horror art, which was like hard to look at some of the time. And both of them were intimidating.
It's like, shut up!
Like, they seem like doing it in the anime, having a weird little quirk laugh like that.
Yeah.
So it ended up having like one Hashira fought one, another Hashira fought the other, and Tanjiro went from one to the other during the fight. And it was all like one night. It wasn't like over the span of a few days, over a few nights. This was all maybe 1 to 2 nights in a row. So they went through a lot.
And then you had another one who was real high, and in the Kisugi level.
Yeah.
And he absorbed all the others.
Yeah.
And then he got these discs that floated around his head, like the one in season 1 when he banged on the drum, the room would turn.
Right.
When he banged on one of the discs that corresponded to the eye that was in the ones he absorbed, that he would use their power.
Right.
That one got really crazy.
Yeah, and that ended up being so long that when it got to the last episode, they had to combine the episodes together, as you said, and turn it into 8, because the last one ended up being almost 1 hour. Even longer in Japan with advertisements, but it was like almost watching another movie. And it was sort of ironic because when they tried to do the movie format again for the beginning of the season, people were furious that it was the same thing they had seen until the last 30 minutes with the arc. But the thing is, they already said that this was going to be like a recap movie. So for them being angry was sort of out of place. And then they got a movie later at the end anyway, like a near movie length. So, but they were happy with that. So it was kind of odd how the reaction changed from the beginning to the end. I guess maybe because of new footage.
And also, we learned in this season more of Muzan's backstory. We got a lot of backstory.
Yes,
this season.
they fit a lot of it in.
And you learn that he looks the way he did at 20 when he became a demon, and how he became a demon, and he was an ass sorry
From the beginning.
before. And it was like, wow, so you just became more personified.
Right.
Whereas when we see more of these other people who became demons, some of them weren't that way in the beginning. They didn't have those personalities, and they developed them after being turned.
Right.
But no, he was like this from the very beginning.
And so was another demon they had, the one that was more emotional. That one was like that too. So you actually had your first one, the first demon in you, well, 2 now, Muzan, that you didn't feel sorry for.
Right.
With the other ones, you kind of felt a little empathy because they kind of realized at the end what they've done and they were forgiven. But these two was like, no, okay, no, you got what was coming.
And so, last but not least, in here, you have a lot of things that happen. We don't want to spoil you if you haven't seen everything. But the fights are fantastic. They're just outstanding. The animation is terrific. The storyline to me was really good. I loved all the backstories, learning more about each Hashira. And in here, unfortunately, I had seen a spoiler for what happened
The very end.
prior to seeing it, but still it was great to see that she has learned how to withstand somehow being out in the sunlight. She no longer has the bamboo in her mouth. She speaks, but she still has a childlike state of mind.
Right.
And Muzan immediately knows because, of course, he turned her. Now he wants to get her and absorb her so he can be all-powerful and be out not only during night and day and just be a terror 24/7, 365, which you can't have happen and you don't want to happen.
Right.
So this was just a really exciting season. The last episode definitely was a tearjerker. Yes, I was crying when Nezuko didn't die. Poor Tanjiro.
Right.
He was crying because he thought he had left her to die because he had to make a choice between saving her and saving the swordsmiths.
Right.
And she told him to go.
Right.
And save them. And when he finished, he was on the ground just crying his
Right.
heart out.
Right.
And I was crying my heart out.
Right.
And him crying his heart
And
out.
it was really tough because before it got to that point, you were hoping somebody could come and do and help him go, but Muchiro was like out of it because he had been damaged. Mitsuri was still gone. The what was the guy's name? I'm sorry, the one with the gun.
Genyu, he was
Genyu?
trying.
He's I'm coming.
He was trying to climb down.
I'm coming. So yeah, that even made it worse because everyone that was trying to get there either wasn't gonna get there fast enough or they were too hurt to get there. So yeah, it made it all more better when you actually had a good outcome.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because Muichiro got a lot of his memories back in this episode. And the first one he got back, and yes, I cried, is he saw Rengoku training with him, and he realized who he was, and he was gone, and the tears just started flowing, and my tears just started flowing, and then he saw his family, and I cried some more. And this is just a real emotional roller coaster of a season.
Right.
I don't understand people who say it wasn't good or it was mid. I don't get what you guys are watching. You're entitled to your opinion, but this was one heck of a season.
Right. And one last thing I gotta bring up was that I think also another difference in here is that you had season 1 and you know that a lot of civilian lives were lost from all the demons and things and you were still learning. And you
training Hashira.
Right.
And my Rengoku.
Right. And then Mugen Train, they lost Rengoku and that was hard for everybody. Then you had Entertainment District. Tengen didn't die, but he was gravely injured and he had to retire. But this one, you show how far they've improved because in this one, nobody died and nobody was so injured they had to retire from being a Hashira. So it tells you they've gotten really better at doing the demon slaying.
And it also tells you that no one got taken out this season, that next season someone probably will. And that's the bad part. I don't know if any of you have noticed this. If you have, let us know in the comments below. In the intro,
this is
at the end of the intro almost, you see all the previous demon slayers. And let me see, the song for the intro is called Kizuna no Kiseki, or Miracle of Bonds. And toward the end, just like in the Mugen Train one, you saw Rengoku turn backwards and him on fire. And we didn't understand until later that was signifying his death. Well, in this one, you see all of the previous Hashira and you see fire. And unfortunately, I see some of the Hashira now that are alive with their backs turned and burning. So, to me, that indicates that almost everyone in here that's a Hashira now is going to die. Based on how it was shown to us in the second season with Goku. In this season, their backs are to Tanjiro, and they're burning.
Right.
And I think it was him and one other one that weren't.
Right. I think
and
so.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So if you guys really recognize or saw that like I did, let us know in the comments below. And let me know if I'm right. because I kept seeing it and I said, Rascal, look at this. Slow it down and look at it. Everybody's backs turned like when Goku's and they're on fire. Last season that meant they were dying, and it's almost like they're giving you a prelude. It didn't happen this season, but in the future seasons, it's going to be a hell of viewing to deal with how many Hashira lost.
Right.
But if you saw Demon Slayer Season 3 on Crunchyroll, let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you think it was meh? We really want to know if you haven't seen it. All 3 seasons are available on Crunchyroll to watch, including now the dubbing season. They're coming out an episode a week. And seasons 1 and 2 are available on Netflix as well.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos of favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. And stay tuned for season 4 because you know we will be watching it and we're really excited because it's a training arc.
Yes.
Training arc. And we're hoping there's going to be some lightness to it because we'll get to learn about more Hashira backstories as well.
So, thank you so much for watching our Mask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.